podcast is not for kids.
You are listening to the Red and Real podcast.
What are they going to talk about today? Whatever the hell they want. So you mean I could juggle?
Fucking psycho laugh.
Shut up.
She gets it from her mama. All right, so episode 2 of the Red and Real podcast. And we do have a special guest this time for episode 2. We're going to get into some cool show and tell stuff. Bondage. Coming.
Kinky.
But, yeah, we're excited to have Gabe on the show with us. I don't know. So this was initially your friend from work, and now we
He used
all
to
are
be.
friends.
He's your friend, though.
Yeah, he used to be. He's yours now.
Passed him on to me.
Yes. So I thought that he was a pervy guy at first.
Everybody thinks that about me at first, yeah. So
Yeah,
you're not
but a
wrong.
good friend.
And then they confirm it later.
I think he's gonna be okay with me saying his name, but Josh was able to say like, no, he's just like that, but no. So we became friends, and then it turned out that some coworkers thought we were more alike than any, and you know the chocolate
Right.
man was like, oh, you need to tell Nate you're done with him, like you're gonna marry Gabe, and like ew.
I guess I come across as that because I do hear that from a lot of people that how I just kind of approach people on try to be like friendly and stuff like that. Obviously, if you're a woman, you'd think that I'm hitting on you, but I'm just, you know, I try to just be open to people and not be
Yeah.
too much of a jerk. But at the same time, a lot of times I'm just like, I'm an introvert. You know, I would say I'm an introvert. So a lot of times I give off the impression that I'm just kind of like plotting my next person that I'm going to kill, like I'm a serial killer or something. But I get both. you
Yeah,
know, so.
yes, I can see that one.
Probably because of the bag you carry around with you.
But hey, in our first episode, we said who we were, and of course, everyone's getting to know us a little bit more with these videos. But who the fuck are you? Say a little bit about yourself. What do you want people to know? Like you're sharing on our podcast, but
Well,
what?
I'm a pervy serial killer, apparently.
Perfect. All right, what's your social?
Date of birth, social, blood type. Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, I just, like I said, one, I'm an introvert, and, you know, in the true meaning of the word, not I think what a lot of people think that an introvert is reserved around new people when I meet them. And that's why sometimes, you know, for some people I come across as maybe being sketchy or weird or pervy or whatever, you know, because they think that I'm kind of like thinking something that I'm not saying, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm just, you know, I
Right.
just don't open up to people until I get to know them. So yeah, that, and yeah, I'm just a dude disguised as another dude. No.
All right, so what are hobbies? What are some of your passions, interests, things that you do?
So I would say for me, anything and everything. I love learning anything I can get my hands on. So I have a lot of interest in a lot of different hobbies just because if I see something that I think is cool, I will literally, you know, just dive into it and try to find out more, learn more.
Yeah.
I spend most of my free time, like when I'm on my phone, I'm not really looking at like social media and stuff like that. I'm literally like reading at articles about stuff that I thought was interesting and just like researching random crap. Hopefully nobody ever looks
I
at
go down those rabbit holes too.
my history
Yeah.
search, you know, my search history because
I'm watching like TED Talks and documentaries as I'm in the shower. I'm just like, bloop.
Yeah.
Other people listen to music and sing along, and I'm just like, what can I learn about fungus today?
yeah, pretty much. You know, sometimes I find myself like
Not
learning
total
about
fungus.
random crap. Yeah, and that's you know that's pretty much me. I would say, like I said, I don't open up until I know somebody. So until you get to know me, you're probably gonna think that I'm weird.
Weird.
We like weird.
Yes.
And yeah,
Yes.
and once you do, you know, I'll
Yeah.
talk a lot about things that I like, and I will not say a single word about if I don't feel like I have something meaningful to contribute to a conversation.
Which is good. He's silent a lot. Just kidding.
Yep.
He's like, don't know what you're talking about.
But I did want to say it's June, whatever day it is in June. It's June and it's Pride Month.
5th
Currently.
currently.
So, happy Pride Month. We encourage love in all colors. Anything you want to say about that? Love in all colors, any experience, anything, any outstanding opinion there?
Well, I think, regardless of what your sexual orientation or what your opinion on sexual orientations is, one, like I've said before, sexuality is on a spectrum. You know, there's
Yes.
there's no 100% heterosexual, 100% homosexual. Everybody is somewhere on that curve. Just because you identify more with one than with another, or because, you know, societal taboo that you don't want to be classified as one thing or the other, so you avoid anything that might make people think that you're gay or, you know, whatever it may be. It doesn't matter. As long as you are happy with yourself and you're not harming anybody else, who cares?
Exactly. So same thing.
Do it.
We do have planned, because it's such an extensive topic, that we do have planned to do an episode in regards to loving in all colors and sex. That's too ample for today. You are showing us Bondage, but
That's your clickbait title right there. Bondage.
Bondage, yes.
Bondage with the
Coming
Jew.
up. Stay tuned.
With the redneck Mexi Jew. Okay, so I always call you that, the skinny redneck Mexi Jew.
No, not
Do you
so
want
skinny
to
anymore.
not too skinny? But do you want to explain why, or you want me to explain why? It's a little dangerous to have me explain why.
Right.
It's going to be way south.
Mexican, because I was, you know, raised in, you know, I'm Mexican ethnically, sure.
Oh, that makes sense.
But
You
people
look more
say,
Mexican than us.
right.
True.
Well, actually, I get a lot of Middle Eastern people think I'm Middle Eastern.
Really?
Yeah, but
I can see that now.
I'm probably like, I also get told I'm like the whitest Mexican because I'm not like a lot
Redneck.
into like Mexican stuff. So that's where the redneck thing comes from.
Okay, it's a little whitewashed.
Right.
Maybe I'll have to look up pictures I have of him and the costumes he would wear.
Right.
Costumes.
Yes, costumes
Mullets
to work,
and,
full
American
on.
flags and stuff like that. Well, 'cause
Yeah. I think I remember seeing one. Fuck, what was it? It was a mullet.
There was a crazy mullet.
And like, was it a USA shirt or something?
Right.
I'll have to pull up the pictures,
Something like that.
but you can speak to that. I mean, he's trying to be quiet, but oh my God, he can be extravagant.
As you've seen, I can be ridiculous and extravagant.
Those people
once
got to know him a little bit.
Right, yeah, so. But, so Mexican. And now I gotta say, even when I was a little kid in Mexico, I never really identified with Mexico that much. Like, I never had a sense of pride or patriotism in being Mexican, so I guess, you know, for whatever reason. But I do have a great sense of pride and identity in being Jewish, which, you know, it's not what I was raised at. But it's something I arrived at from my own research and aspirations. You know, I was raised Catholic. It never clicked with me. You know, I had a lot of thoughts and questions and things that didn't fit into, you know, the Catholic or Christian.
Very frowned upon.
Right, yeah. So yeah, you know, I would say probably when I was around 15 years old is when, bleep that out,
Bleep out the
when I started kind of searching. And, you know, I got to attribute that in a great sense to, I don't know if she's still alive or not, my middle school history, or was it world history? Yeah, world history teacher, Mrs. Squire. When she taught us about like world history and world religion, stuff like that, she was very open about kind of presenting different ideas. And we read like Greek philosophy, and we read about Judaism and Islam and, you know, everything, not just, you know, what you typically hear when you talk about world history, you know, very succinct, abbreviated version of things. So that kind of got me coughing. That kind of got me interested in.
It's been a long time. Man.
Right, in learning other things. And yeah, sorry about my coughing, because like I said,
He's got the corona-wana.
Right, it might have been, I don't know.
Corona one.
I don't know, but yeah, whenever I get sick and I get a cough, it lasts for a couple of weeks for me. Like, it never goes away.
You have that
Right
lingering
away.
kind of smoker's cough.
Yep.
Aftershock.
Yep, always. So from Miss Squire, you know, I kind of taking that torch that she passed on and kind of helping open my young mind. And yeah, I just started researching about other cultures and religions. And, you know, I learned about Islam and Judaism and other streams of Christianity and Buddhism and Hinduism and just anything that I could get my hands on. Like I said, that's kind of what I like doing. For a little while, I thought about maybe being Buddhist, but it didn't like personally just, feel like I didn't identify with it.
That same click again.
Right.
It just didn't resonate properly with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would you say are like the biggest thing, the tenets, if you will, of Judaism that you decided to...
Yeah, what drew you into it?
And yeah, for one, I think the sense of community, because it's
Sense of what? Was that a little sneeze?
What?
You said the sense of kashmishi?
Community.
Oh, community. I'm so sorry.
Right.
Thought you
no.
like kashmishi.
Right. No, well, I mumble sometimes, so that's fine. But yeah, sense of community, it's an ethno-religion, so like I've explained before, it's kind of, there's a religious aspect to it, but it's more of belonging to a people. Like you would, it's closer to what you would think of as indigenous or Native American religions or ethnic groups. It's the religious beliefs, like the belief system and the history and the culture and the traditions and the rituals are all together. They're all one. Mm-hmm. And it's all tied to the land. So, I think that's one misconception that people have about Judaism. They think that it's Christianity without Jesus. But it's like, like I said, it's closer to what you would see from a native or indigenous religion or culture. So that's one thing. Obviously, the being tied to the land as well. I'm a big believer that nature and everything in the universe that we know and we don't know is very important. And the more we get disconnected from it, the more harm we're doing to it and to ourselves. Honestly, we're basically committing suicide.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and another big thing, obviously, for me within Judaism was that I felt like Christianity was, at least for me, that it was, they give you answers that you can't question. And with Judaism, they give you questions that you can't answer. So it's a perpetual searching, like a personal search for what you think, is going on, to building a personal relationship with God, whatever it is that God means.
Right.
So even within Judaism, there's no solid theology of what God is supposed to be. You can, there's streams within Judaism that think God is some kind of cosmic process. Mm-hmm. There's others, even within the most Orthodox, it's still believed that God is not a being per se. We talk about God as, male and with human characteristics, because as human, that's the only thing we know. We can only express ourselves in what we know.
Yeah.
So
this
we
is
can't,
the closest that we can embody with our words, because we don't know the words to describe.
Right. Exactly. We can't talk about something that we don't have words for. So that's what basically what God is something that is beyond our comprehension.
Right.
So yeah, that abstractness of thought, and like I said, a lot of times you get questions, not answers. So it's intellectual honesty, that not making up an answer or saying that this is right just because you want to give an answer, because you don't want to admit that you don't know the answer to that question. So yeah, that that kind of thing was all that is what drew me in.
That's pretty attractive, even just for me as like a person, like because I was in leadership for many years, and one of my things that I found as my go-to was like, if I don't know the answer, I'm gonna go find it. Mm-hmm. And that's always been kind of like pretty much how I was raised. Like my mom started teaching me things from before or right after I could start walking. Like when I got into kindergarten, I could do math, I could read, and all of that. So I've always had that thirst for learning. Mm-hmm. So instead of like, I was also raised Catholic, and I went all the way through to my first Holy Communion, and then my parents gave me the choice, like, do you want to continue with this? And I was like, not really interested in it. It just seems so matter of fact. Everything you do wrong, you should be punished for, and it's just, I don't know, it just felt very negative for me.
Yeah.
Even at a younger age, and I had never really identified like God is this person. It kind of felt very much like a symbol. Like I still don't know.
Right. It's a placeholder word for something that we don't know what it is.
That we don't know how to give definition too,
Right.
definitely. So, and my path too, I was raised Catholic, and for a long time I felt connection, but then it was more about the way that things were done that I always questioned, and that was always kind of criticized of me, like, but why this? Like, why is it that I do something and you say that because of what I did, and even my kids, I told you that they went to church with me, was it last
Just
week?
last week? Yeah.
Just last Sunday. Okay, a week, so almost a week ago. And immediately it was like, oh my God. I mean, there's a guy nailed to a cross and he's bleeding from head, hands, feet,
got a gash in
rib.
his
What the
rib
heck
and-
happened? And so I can't remember which one of them, but one of them goes, oh my God. That's what Nana told us happened. Every time we do something bad, they poke him right there. And I'm like, no, that happened over 2,000 years ago. It's not happening to him anymore. But yes,
Right.
this happened to this man. So for me, I mean, that's a broader conversation to talk about religion
Right.
on its own. So
Right,
maybe
right.
we'll do that episode with you. But really the reason I wanted you here, and it wasn't just to make bread and today's breakfast.
Yes, it was.
You were using me. Now you're using me for
So
views.
if anyone saw my story, the bread, I don't know if I included the bread, but the shakshuka.
Shakshuka, yeah.
Shakshuka is on there, and him and our daughters made the.
Sorry.
Say it again.
Chicago.
But you guys made the bread last night. Is there a name for that bread?
Challah.
Challah. Chalaleki.
So it's an H with your throat. Challah.
Kind of like hawking a loogie. Challah.
Yeah, pretty much.
There we go. So So anyway, so that too, but also because I noticed on your story that there was something that I wasn't understanding. Of course, I was checked out for over a month and a half with battling COVID, but I realized that I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know that Jews here in the States were being attacked and why they're being attacked under this misconception of what's going on back there. So that was the invitation for you to join us in this episode, is to speak a little bit of the core tenets of Judaism. We can delve a little bit into the different what did you call it, branches or different
branches, streams,
of Judaism, and kind of speak to that, to give a little light. I think that we are very misinformed, not only as to what's going on, but also like why, the ignorance of, Jewish people are doing this to Palestinians.
Right.
Well, really? And you know, is that violence toward an individual that has nothing to do with that? Is that serving anyone or anything? So that's kind of what I wanted to shed light on.
Yeah. A little more current. And so, I mean, I guess before we get all the way to the today, maybe a little more of like the backstory.
Right.
Before we get balls deep.
Kind of
Right. Well, I mean,
start with
it's
just a tip.
2,000, probably more than 2,000 years of history there. And, you know, anybody who tries to say that it's not a complicated issue, you know, it's lying. And they're trying to push their own agenda.
Right.
On both sides. That's been the problem, is that extremists and politicians push lies and stereotypes and propaganda to paint one side or the other as evil.
Right.
When the reality is that there's that minority of people in power, people who are extremists, who try to swindle the opinion of everybody else by, you know, exaggerating things and just kind of making everybody into a bad guy. You know, from the Israeli Jewish side, people say that all Palestinian Muslims are terrorists.
Right,
From
right.
the Palestinian Muslim side, people say our Israeli Jews are, you know, are greedy and try to control everybody else, you know.
Right.
So yeah, it's, the history obviously has been both Jews and Palestinians have been living in that land together, sometimes peacefully, sometimes not peacefully. But should we take a little? Because you can probably keep hearing her saying that over and over.
It's up to you. You want to check on it?
Then
I think she's good.
silence.
Yeah.
She felt
Right.
the
She's
attention.
It's like every time they're quiet, But when they're talking, I gotta get his attention.
That's dulce.
That's, oh my gosh. We'll have to talk about that in another moment, but oh my gosh, yes. But anyway, I think that that's true of any group, like, because we're very aware of our influence on others, and like we were saying earlier, most people are sheep.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
the truth. It's
And
so
it's-
much more comfortable to just follow.
And it's the
Right.
truth for everything. We try to polarize everything, I think, and say, you're either this or that. You're either good or evil. You're either for me or against me.
We don't want the
Right,
shades
right,
of
right.
gray.
There's no nuance. There's no context. There's no middle ground. It's either one or the other. You can't. So that's the history of that conflict basically is, and people trying to convince their own people and the other side and outsiders that one side is responsible for everything, and that they are just the victims. But it's true for both sides that there's been bad things done by both sides, good things done by both sides. So yeah, I mean, you really have to learn all the history and everything that has happened to even begin to get an inkling of understanding of what is going on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me go check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pause.
Yeah.
Three, two.
All right. Yeah. Now we're good.
Okay.
Okay. So, like, I wanted to jump into kind of like the detonating factor. We kind of went, these people have been at war and extremists at each other's necks forever. So, kind of like the detonating factor of what's going on,
Right.
so that
So
people
right
kind
now.
of know right
Like,
now.
yeah, what happened last month.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, obviously, there's always something happening from time to time. But so last month, what happened was, and it's not coincidence that it happened at the time that it did. But I guess I'll get into that after I explain. So what happened last month was, media and everywhere were saying, Israel is ethnic cleansing, kicking out Palestinians out of their homes so they can replace them with Jews. But there's no context given or anything like that. So Sheikh Jarrah, the neighborhood, that's what Palestinians call it. Jews call it Shimon HaTzadik. So basically, it's an area where back when 1890s, at that time the Ottoman Empire was in control. Some Jews bought land there from Palestinian landowners that were there. And it's always been, obviously, like I said, Jews and Palestinians both had been living in that land for thousands of years.
Right.
So
right.
sometimes there's been more Jews because, persecution, genocide, get taken as slaves to other places by the Romans and stuff like that. But both have always been there, and both will always be there, hopefully. Hopefully we don't see a genocide by one side or the other doing anything
Or the
like
other,
that.
yeah.
Right. Right.
Right. Because neither side has the right to say this is mine and not yours. But yeah, so they bought that land, built homes there in the 1890s. Fast forward to 1948, when after the Holocaust, World War II, the United Nations voted for partitioning. At that time, it was the British that were in control of that. So the British defeated, the Ottoman Empire in World War I, took control of it. It became a British colony until 1948. And basically, the UN voted to partition, make it into both, a Jewish state and a Muslim Palestinian state. The Jewish representation government said yes. The Palestinian said no. So what happened was that the armies of all the surrounding Muslim countries invaded to try to put a stop to the Jewish people forming a modern state country. So during that war, the army of Jordan took control of that area, the Sheikh Jarrah, and kicked out the Jews that were living there and that had bought that land and replaced them with Palestinians. And in the interest of fairness, all over the land this happened. Some areas Israel took over, some areas Jordan or others took over and kicked out Jews, kicked out Palestinians, so people were just kind of moved everywhere, got scrambled up everywhere.
Yeah. And so just real quick, because, all right. So trying to picture like the map when everything was divided up, because from what I remember in the documentary we saw, there was like the Israel, Palestine, and there was like a piece right in the middle that was international.
Jerusalem, yeah.
Jerusalem. So international, didn't belong to either or. Anybody could get into it.
That was the idea,
everybody had equal access to it. I just thought it was very kind of inconvenient to be right in the middle of all like the Palestinian section, and Israelis are supposed to just walk right through, even though they've had conflict for thousands of years. That just didn't make any sense to me.
So the idea on paper was that, we were going to split the country in half. Jews were going to have half of it. Palestinians were going to have the other half. And Jerusalem was going to be a sort of like a neutral ground, where...
Right.
An internationally administered, like neither Palestinian nor Israeli had control over it. Kind of be like a demilitarized zone type thing, where everybody, like there's nobody has sovereignty over it.
Peace zone for everyone. Okay.
Right. So that was the plan, but obviously war ensued, and
yeah.
Sheikh Jarrah is in Jerusalem, what is now, East Jerusalem, which now, East Jerusalem is mostly Palestinian, West Jerusalem is mostly Israeli, so, even the city itself got split up. And that's changed hands from 1948 until now. There's been multiple wars, and that changed hands multiple times.
Back and forth. Right.
So when 1948, Sheikh Jarrah, Jordanian army kicks out the Jews. They lived there, put Palestinians there. Fast forward to 1967, the Six-Day War. Again, surrounding Muslim countries invaded, tried to displace, and eliminate the Israeli state. But now, Israel took control of a lot of parts. In 6 days, the military wonder that Israel was able to not only repel an attack from multiple attackers, but was able to take control of most of the land. So they took control of that area. And what happened from then on was basically a series of legal disputes, because the Israeli government didn't outright just kick every Palestinian that was there out. So basically went into court battles of what do we do. So the Jewish families wanted it back. The Palestinian families obviously didn't want to leave. So from 1967 until 1982, through all those ensuing court battles, Palestinian families continued to live there, paying rent to the Jordanian military or whoever was, kind of owning it, even though not controlling it at the time. And finally, in 1982, they ruled that Jordan had no right to be, charging rent or, be benefiting from that, because it was now, part of the Israeli state. So they ruled that the Palestinian families still living there could stay, but they had to pay rent to the Jewish families that owned the land before them. So some of those families said, no, we'd rather move somewhere else than pay rent to Jews, and they moved. 4 families in 8 homes, I believe is the number, decided that they didn't want to go anywhere, and they were not going to pay rent either to Jews. So from 1982 until 2021, 30-something years or however long that is, they continued with this court battles, not paying rent the whole time. And finally in 2021, a court ruled that the Israeli government could kick out those Palestinian families. They could be evicted, right?
Okay.
So from what I've heard and seen from researching, because obviously people don't even know this much about it. They just hear Israelis kicking out Palestinians, ethnic cleansing. That's it. That's all the headline. That's all that people hear.
Yeah. And everything is perspective. Like,
of course,
we all sat here in the same room, and now everybody on the other side is listening. And Nate and I watched the same documentary, and he's saying things like realizations that I'm like, I don't remember that. Like, I see in his eyes, like, that. And I'm like, what? And even you explaining it, I just heard a whole bunch of numbers. So in the end,
and everything that I said,
people are getting attacked back and forth.
Everything that I said, you can verify.
Yes, and we said that from the get-go. We don't have anyone fact-checking us.
You are our fact check.
Yes, we invite the the dialogue,
the banter,
whatever,
debates,
the criticism of what we're doing here, anything, let us know. So, yeah, perspective is everything. Right. So
context, there's a lot of nuance to everything. Not just
you're living it from different angles. Right. You're perceiving it differently.
Right. So yeah, it's not black and white.
The lens that you were grown up in,
or what the voices around you are saying,
or in your head.
Right.
Or in your head.
When it comes to violence and hatred, there's no good guys and bad guys.
Right.
It's
it's kind of like a domestic dispute. Is anybody truly at fault? Like when a couple argues or whatever, is anybody truly at fault? No, they're both contributing factors into the situation, and both parts can also remedy that. But until one person decides to take that first step of let's see the entirety of this.
Right. So what was I saying? Yeah, so they decided they could evict the Palestinian families. The Palestinian families were seeking settlements, compensation for being evicted, as you should,
Are we saying like evicted from individual homes or evicted like from Palestine?
No,
from
those 4 homes, I believe it was, or 8 homes.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. Homes. I'm telling you numbers. Okay, right. You did say something about
right. So being evicted, they wanted compensation. They wanted money to be able to buy a place somewhere else or whatever. And however, what I've heard from some Palestinian activists that are not just saying Israel bad, Palestine good, or from Israeli activists that are not just saying Palestine bad, Israel good. People that are actually getting into the nuance of what happened is that some of the lawyers of those families were provided by the Palestinian Authority, which is the government of Palestine. So those lawyers provided by the Palestinian Authority were saying, no, we're not going to take a settlement. We're not going to accept anything. We're going to let them kick you guys out, and we're going to use this as for the Palestinian cause. We're going to use this situation to further the Palestinian cause. So use it as political ammunition.
Yeah. This is going to fuel the fire.
Right.
Okay.
And that pretty much sums up both from the Israeli side and the Palestinian side. People just find whatever they can to throw kindling in the fire.
Just as with anything else.
Incite more violence, incite more hatred, because the people in power and the extremists benefit from both sides hitting each other.
And something that I know had come up outside of just the home issue was when the police had basically raided a mosque. Just recently, going in with tear gas and they're shooting up, I guess, with non-lethal force, but still that's
less lethal.
In a situation in prayer at the very first day of Ramadan. Everything.
Oh, we did watch that video.
I think it was on the 3rd week or something like that. So what happened there, too, is that, again, you see the videos of the police storming and, some innocent people that had nothing to do with the riots that were happening.
Yeah, and here from the U.S., we're going to get just, the small little pinhole of what actually happened.
My immediate reaction was, why is the police coming into a home where it looks like they're doing nothing else but maybe a get together, carne asada or something like that would be the equivalent, and a noise complaint turns out into fucking SWAT just coming into.
And again, you see no context. You just see what grabs your attention.
Yeah,
policemen coming in, and so what happened there was that because of that court ruling in favor of evictions, what happened was that during the prayer time at the Al-Aqsa Mosque, some Palestinian individuals, because obviously, like I said, extremists are not representative of the whole people. So
they're a very small percentage in most cases.
So some of them were started throwing rocks at the Jews that were below. So they started throwing rocks, and basically, obviously the Israeli police wasn't just gonna stand there and let it happen. So they went in to disperse the crowd, and obviously caught in that middle of that were the people that were just there just praying. So again, this happened. If you really look at everything, it was orchestrated, and because that very same week or the week before, it was supposed to be Palestinian elections were supposed to happen. Mahmoud Abbas, the leader of Palestine right now, the president of Palestine, he's on his 16th year of a 4-year term.
Damn.
40-year term. Damn.
4-year term, 16 years he's been in power. So he has not allowed
4 years.
Right.
He's got 4 times the amount that he's supposed to be.
Okay.
So he has not allowed elections to happen. last month, right around that time, was when the elections were supposed to happen. Obviously, all this stuff happens. Lo and behold, magically, the elections are canceled.
Yeah, and
So-
we're
distractions. And,
Right.
yeah, it's so much influence. If people realize just how much we're under the power of others' influence, and there's nothing wrong with it. Like in the way we dress, in the music we listen, there's influence in everything. But if we were truly aware of our susceptibility to that influence, things would be different. Because
Right.
it's all like
Yeah.
a chess game. Like I mean, our government does it with us as much
It
as
does,
you'd
yeah.
like to
And like I
believe
said,
you're
it's
free in
both
the
sides.
United States.
Right, and it's
We
both
are
sides
being
now.
influenced.
Because that happened from the Palestinian side, from the corrupt, government in Palestine, and from the corruption in the Israeli government. What happened was that the week before that happened was the deadline for Benjamin Netanyahu to basically be able to form a political coalition to stay in power in Israel. He's been in power for 12 years, 12 consecutive, 15 total. But
out of 4.
no, well,
Same
he's been getting reelected narrowly, like barely
Okay.
finding some way to finesse and finagle his way to stay in power. So
And there's
since
no like number of terms.
there's no term limits
Okay.
right now. That's one of the things they're trying to introduce term limits for
Right.
for Israeli prime ministers because of that.
Yeah.
So and so pretty much since 2019, I would say there's been protests, to have Netanyahu step down. He's very much kind of like Israeli Trump. He very much tells people, Palestinians are terrorists. They don't want peace, so screw them. We're not gonna have peace with them because they don't want it. They want to kill us, so we're gonna get ours and screw them. Basically, so that's basically what he does. He
Right.
incites hatred, he incites violence. So he's been in power for 12 years. Since 2019, like I said, there's been protests. He has, like I said, a very narrow majority. He's the smallest majority of all the political parties that are in Israel, and because it's a parliamentary system, so they don't have two
Okay.
parties; they have multiple parties, and they have to form coalitions. They have to form alliances after elections to get an actual majority, 61 seats out of 100 or whatever, or 120
Sure.
to
Okay.
have a majority. So Netanyahu missed the deadline. He could not get enough people to join him. And right when that happened, lo and behold, next week, as his opponents are trying to form actually historic coalition of left parties, right-wing parties, centrist parties, and even the Arab parties within Israel, kind of all coming together to finally, get rid of them. As they're trying to do this, they're trying to negotiate. All this stuff happens. What happens during that time? They have to stop negotiations.
Deadline passes.
So the deadline didn't pass, thankfully.
Okay.
Right now, I know as of yesterday, it's not like official, but it's like most likely going to happen that they are going to form that coalition between the Arab, center,
Okay.
left, right, and Netanyahu is out. So, but he nearly escaped that because of everything that was happened. Took away most of the time that they had to negotiate to form that coalition. So
I'm gonna
obviously,
be
like I said,
real honest.
not a coincidence that this stuff happened when it did, when both the
Yeah.
Israeli and Palestinian sides were facing political opposition to the people that benefit from the status quo.
Right.
Status quo.
All around the fucking. Oh, that was another thing that came
That we
up
watched in the documentary. But anyway, okay, so awesome. And I'm going to be honest, Gabe. I'm not sure I caught most of that, but they are understanding more
They can
than I am.
rewind,
So
yeah.
what?
Right.
They can rewind.
They can rewind that too. So, but what's going on here in the States? So I think, unfortunately, there's nothing that we can do. We can't vote. We can't speak for them. That's their territory. So what's going on in the States? We saw a few videos of people getting attacked just randomly on the street. Like this Jewish man attacked, pulled down from his bike and beat. And there's a video of like 5 or 6 people beating him.
And one dude was hitting him with a crutch.
A
Like, of all
crutch,
things.
yes,
Yeah, so-
that's
How
right.
are you
So that
fighting
guy-
with a crutch?
That guy's the guy that, Bella Hadid was posting pictures of the protests she attended, and that guy was like right there behind her. So after that, she came out like, oh no, I condemn anti-Semitism. And because the guy that literally she took a picture with him on the background. The guy that got
I didn't know
that was
that.
that guy. Yeah, no.
Oh, shit.
So are you up to date with current events here in the States in regards
yeah,
to this?
definitely. Yeah, I mean, anti-Semitism is nothing new. It's been going on forever. So
we were talking about that earlier, the
Right.
Latinos and
right, yeah. So that's another thing we can go into. But yeah, so basically, there was a huge spike in anti-Semitism in the 11 days that there was fighting between
Right.
Israelis and Palestinians, that all this stuff was happening over there, because, like I said, people just take it out of proportion, exaggerate it,
Sure.
make it into propaganda to push their agenda of we're good, they're evil. So obviously, what happened was there was a lot of misinformation being spread. The media only showed things that made Israel look bad. There was no context. Everything that I just explained, there was not explained. It was not given as information to people to understand what was happening. So obviously, when you say,
Right.
when you show people that don't know what's going on, that don't know all the stuff that I just told you about, you show them the pictures of Israeli police coming into the mosque. You tell them that Israel is kicking out Palestinians. You tell them that, they obviously are going to form the opinion that Israel is bad, that everything that Israel does is bad. Add to that the inflammatory language of saying that Israel is an apartheid state, which, from any point that you look at it, it's not. It's just inflammatory language. So apartheid is, you have a single state where the minority rules the majority and makes it legal to discriminate or to segregate that majority. So that's not the case in Israel. Israel is right now basically three separate governments. There's the Israeli government, there's the Palestinian Authority, and there's Hamas. So they each kind of have control of different areas. So it's not a single state. There's 0 Jews in Gaza, where Hamas controls. There's some Jews in some of the areas that the Palestinian Authority controls, and many Palestinians live and work in the areas that Israel controls. So it's not apartheid by any means, by any definition of it. And in the area, even if you look at it just the area that Israel controls, Jews are a majority, not a minority. And
Right.
and and their rule, they have the majority of votes and whatever. And there is definitely discrimination and favoritism towards being Jewish in Israel than to being Arab or Palestinian. So that's definitely something that needs to change. But it's not segregated. It's not, legally discriminatory. Obviously, discrimination happens regardless of
whether
whether
you
it's
like it or
legal or
not.
not. Yeah, it's going to happen. So so that's what's going on. And, so saying that Israel is apartheid is, again, demonizing and painting this picture of, look how evil they are.
Right.
Instead
More bad, more wrong.
Right. Instead of
Right.
addressing the nuance of the things that are wrong and to try to find a solution to what is, police brutality as well over there is a problem. Especially, I think what exacerbates that is that Israel uses its military as a police force as well. So obviously, when you use military to police people, it's not good, because it's military training and dealing with people
Right.
when you're dealing with as a military is completely different than what a police force should do.
Right.
So. So yeah, that exacerbates things as well. People say that. Also, we're saying that Israel is committing genocide against Palestinians, which, there is murders and violence and stuff like that, hate crimes as well.
But by definition, genocide is
But not
something
genocide. I mean, the
completely
Palestinian population has grown, so it's not. Like, let me give you into perspective of actual genocide, the Holocaust. Before the Holocaust, there was 16.5 million Jews in the world.
Okay, 16.5 million.
And then
Lock that
now, right now, 75 years later, there is 15 million. So 75 years later, still have not recovered
from that huge loss.
Right, from that huge
Right.
loss. So that's what happens when there's a genocide. Your numbers dwindle and take a long time to recover. So even if you want to look at it from a purely perspective of statistics and what's actually happening, there's no genocide being committed. There's discrimination, for sure. And there's violence and there's hatred, but it's not genocide. There has been kind of genocide of Palestinians in Syria for the civil war that's happening there, but you didn't hear that about it in the media. And because a lot of that is, if it doesn't fit the narrative that the media and politicians are trying to describe, then they don't give people that information. If it wasn't Israel that killed those people, then we're not going to report on it because it's
like an impact.
And the
Right.
same thing, it's like, again, like going back into everything, these news companies are sponsored. Who are their sponsors? What is it in the
Oh,
world
yeah,
that they're
definitely.
supporting? And then behind them is who? It's kind of like what happened here in the States. We have some channels that were Trump is all the way. He's our savior. He's God sent. And then there are other channels that like,
It's the
no, this
complete
is a
opposite.
demon. Like, no.
Right.
And then
Right.
there were neutral, but it inflammates like all those notions, and they sell it to you like it's a
reinforces
fact and not
stereotypes and, yeah.
opinion. And then what feeds into that? Then there's
And I'll give
companies
you-
that sell weapons that benefit from all this.
Yep,
There's
definitely I'll get into that. So
Yeah,
and I'll give
definitely.
you another opinion, another example of media bias and pushing a certain narrative or not pushing a narrative because it's not convenient for them. Take China right now. The Uyghur population, they're a Muslim minority in China, and they are literally being arrested, put into trains, being sent off to concentration camps,
what?
re-education camps, where they're tired.
Yeah.
So all that's-
Re-education camp.
Yeah, all that stuff is happening. That's a genocide right there, or if not the
You said
beginning of
Muslims
one.
in China?
Muslims in China, yeah, because China doesn't allow most religions. They only recognize certain religions, and obviously they discriminate against some and not others. But yeah, that's going on. That's been going on for the last couple of years. Most people don't know about it. You don't hear about it in the media
Yeah,
because
yeah.
No.
people don't want to blame
Don't care
China,
about
put
it.
China as a bad guy, because where do we get most of our stuff from? Who
Right.
is the second largest consumer market in
China
the world?
runs the world.
Yeah, they don't want to upset China
Right.
by reporting on what they're doing because it's not convenient. So and that's and that's the thing that happens. Like I said, with China, with Israel, with anywhere else in the world, in Syria, there's been genocide of Kurds and Yazidis. That's been going on, mass rape and murder by Turks. Since by the Turkish army, and they are using other extremist groups in the area to help commit those crimes. But we're not reporting on it. Nobody's hearing about it because Turkey is technically an ally of the United States. As much as there's a kind of hot and cold relationship between both,
Right.
they're still an ally of the United States. So yeah, like I said, people push whatever narrative is convenient or profitable. So that's things like that are happening all over the world, and some groups are being demonized, and others are being given a glorified or given a get out of jail free card because it's convenient, it's not convenient, whatever it may be. The media doesn't tell you the truth. The people, extremists, and all these groups that spread these lies and propaganda about everybody don't tell you what's really happening because they want you to side with them. They don't want you to know the truth and make an informed decision. They want you to just take their side.
Absolutely. And I think that's true in so many areas of our lives where, again, people know that they have that influence. They want to keep that influence. Why not?
Exactly.
keep
Like I
that
said, it's
power?
keeping the
Everything's very
status quo.
polarized.
Everything is polarized. We were talking
Yeah.
about that, how in every area it's like the extreme on this side, and then of course there's the
extreme
other
on the
polarity
opposite side.
in
Right.
in everywhere. Kind of
Right.
like the documentary we were watching about the
The Hasidic Jews?
Hasidic Jews,
Mm-hmm.
and how it's in New York, but they've developed their community within, and so there's
Mm-hmm.
this polarity of New York is so open and freedom and all of this and all the money, and then there's this community that they have no skills, they don't know basic math, but they're such
Mm-hmm.
a strong community. So all they do is worship and read and
So yeah, within like the ultra Orthodox, which again, extremist or fundamentalist groups like that take an extreme interpretation of scripture or ideology, whatever ideology.
Everything followed right to the T.
Right.
Every
They're all-
I dotted.
Right, it's always a minority, but so certain groups within within Hasidism, because it's not every single Hasidic group,
sure.
Right.
are like that. They basically think that you shouldn't do anything but study Torah. That being learning basic skills to the the outside world or just the secular world is not necessary because all you need is to follow your religion, and so yeah, there's certainly groups like that.
Yeah, and it was crazy because some of these people were trying to like get out, and they always refer to it as the secular world. Like this is a whole different world
Right.
that I am not privy to at all with my upbringing.
And it spoke to many falling into addictions because they feel disconnected from their community. Their community has shunned them. Now they're in this world that they don't have a place. They don't have support. They don't have anything. So addiction is huge, which is something that I didn't know. I had no idea. And so I did want to mention something in that documentary. They talk about footsteps. So I guess that Hasidic community considers footsteps like Satan. This is the community that has come to drive people away from us. But what footsteps is like an assistance group. And I'm so sorry if I'm not defining your group in the appropriate way. If anybody ever listens to this,
please fact check us.
Fact check us in what your definition. But it's a foundation essentially. That
even if you have experience with it, that would be cool.
Right.
Just
yes,
reach out to us.
please.
That'd be cool.
I would love that because I know I'm definitely going to be making a contribution to them. I think that's so huge because in my own life, I've seen people who are oppressed by their beliefs. A woman who gets beaten and whose husband considers her wishes, desires, and well-being last of his priorities or cares. Like, she shouldn't be there. But because of religion, and I'm not just talking, Muslim, Islam.
Right.
Even in Christianity, I have friends who have stayed...
fundamental, like Warren Jeffs and stuff. Like, there's within every single religion. There's
within every single one.
That,
So what Footsteps does is they provide counseling and they kind of provide a pathway for these people to transition and leave these extreme I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
To leave their just the environments that they were in. It was like
be able to
even
transition.
if you cut your hair, if you don't dress a certain way, if you have any misstep, it seemed like someone was confronting you right away.
Oh, I was talking about Footsteps. Yes, so Footsteps kind of creates that platform to let's talk about this because there's women that there's no way. So there's no individual pockets, I guess, in these Hasidic communities. There's community money. And so everybody starts pulling in, there was a letter circulating hey, this woman is evil. She's going to go to court to try to separate her children from this father. And all he wants is for them to live our values. And this woman doesn't wear leggings in public. And she was wearing leggings. But they told her, on this specific day. And how come in court it wasn't a thing of, why are you having her followed by an individual and he's not a PI? That shouldn't be accepted in court. But to them, it was oh, you didn't wear leggings on Wednesday? Then your kids should not be with you. They should be with his father forever. So then there was a letter circulating, and the community pooled their money to pay for 6 lawyers, top-notch lawyers in New York, to take these children away from their mother. And so I'm just thinking, Footsteps is so great because there's not just going to be people trying to walk away from a Hasidic community. It could be anywhere.
Yeah,
so
any fundamental
thank
group,
you.
Yeah, out there. And there's many of them. Unfortunately, there's, and it, like we talked about, in every community there is one or multiple. So it's definitely there's something that does happen within some Orthodox groups. But like and it's part of the problem is that people get so entrenched in their own beliefs and thinking that what I think is right and everybody else is wrong.
Yeah.
And like I said, if you're not with me, then you're against me.
Right.
And the reality is, it's all an equation, and if you're not a problem of the solution, that means you're a part of the problem.
Right.
So.
Right.
But yeah, so just to give this a little bit light, because I don't want to make this episode 3 hours long. We'll have to, if there's an interest to learn more about Judaism, Gabe can talk about this forever.
I mean, I'm down to come back whenever you guys want to have me.
Heck yeah. But let's talk a little about you as a person. We talked about loving in all colors. Is there anyone that should hear your interests and maybe get you a little date somewhere, and I'll do babysitting and
Right, so you're trying to pin me out. Okay.
I don't know that I can make much money on you, but
Right, yeah, no, I was going to say that's, no.
Bad business.
So.
Just kidding.
I mean, if I could make money off myself, I would by now. I mean,
I'm trying to get you a date, and it's like you're trying to so bad to kill that possibility.
I only do foot photos.
OnlyFans. Well, I mean, it's my type, my type of humor. I have a self-deprecating humor,
Yes.
So, But yeah, I mean, so I guess that's one thing to know. No, I mean, yeah, I'm single, but I don't.
Single.
Ready to mingle.
Right.
He brought bondage stuff.
Oh yeah, tell us about bondage. We totally were gonna forget about that. We have some time.
Well,
for that.
I mean, there was you said it. I mean, just from our breakfast conversation, we were talking about how BDSM and bondage is, very. It's been seen quite a bit in the Jewish community.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something that is, like I said,
I mean, it's not practiced, not part
directly
of,
linked or anything like
worship
that.
or anything.
But I think it comes, I think the connection comes from, like, if you know both, then it's easy to make connections between the two, just as different. But
I'm pretty sure a
but
lot
it-
of
what I mean, the-
watching do know BDSM. BDSM.
BDSM. Well, I guess starting with that, because BDSM is one of those things that people don't really know or misunderstand. Because when you say BDSM, most people think like 50 Shades of Grey, which is honestly, it's like the depiction of an abusive relationship. But it's not. It's not really BDSM. Because the most important tenets of BDSM, one, BDSM is an umbrella term. There's many different things that you can do, cannot do. Like you can, whatever you like or don't like within that. But people think of that, they immediately think like violence, a violence aspect of it. Like
Chains and whips and things
yeah.
that excite Rihanna.
Right.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, there's that misconception that I think people kind of see it as like as a violent, abusive thing, or people are scared of it, or it's a taboo. But honestly, the tenets are trust and consent. You can't just
And safe words.
Right? Yeah, safety. Because you can't just.
Tamarindo.
That would be a good one. That doesn't come up in regular conversation much. So yeah.
You might want to think of something shorter.
But because I mean, like I said, it's people get excited by different things. Sexuality, like we talk about, it's an spectrum, and within that is everything that people like that arouses them or doesn't arouse them. There's many different things you can do. So BDSM, I think, is just basically playing with some of those dynamics and different things that you can try. And obviously, before you get into any BDSM relationship, whether it's short term or long term, you have to have communication. You have to talk about the things that you like, things you don't like, both of you, and how you want the dynamic to be between the two.
Definitely.
What are soft limits, hard limits, what's you say for things that you like I said, you have to have a lot of conversation, have communication before, during, and after and and you basically build that trust.
I got stuck on soft limits and hard limits. I was like, okay, so when I'm soft, you can do this. When I'm hard, you can do this.
So it's more of.
But if I say tamarindo,
right. So it's more of a like.
Stop it.
Like I'm tentative about this. Like maybe I don't know where my limit would be if you like with, let's say, with whipping, which again, you don't have to be into any one specific thing, but let's say that maybe some light whipping, not too hard, you're okay with, but you don't know exactly how hard is too much for you. So it's a soft. So whipping is a
yellow
soft,
light,
right?
Like just a little teeth, not too much, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, and there's yellow light safe words and red light safe words. You can have a safe word that it's like I'm not at my limit, but I'm kind of getting there. So just like be aware. And there's an absolute like okay, this I can't go any further than this.
my gosh.
So I guess So single, like I said. But yeah.
But if you're interested.
But yeah, it's misunderstood.
Okay.
Because of the societal taboo that there is on doing
Definitely.
it. Yeah.
Like sex should just be pure, and you have
Like
to do it
with the
on
lights
your
off,
knees,
missionaries.
praying, praying so you don't sin, and
Through a
then
sheet.
through a sheet, just
Right.
a little hole.
Right. Sex is for
That's
procreation,
what we
not for fun.
tried. Yeah, not for fun.
Yeah,
so
How
it's-
dare you fuck to have children?
Right.
So, okay, I guess I'm a little confused on how that's rooted in Judaism. Like, I get the trust and the communication,
Oh,
which
right.
should be true in every relationship, but
Right.
how?
Well, I mean, yeah, like I said, don't take it because I know some people are gonna be offended and be like, no, it's not. Like, no, it's not. Oh, that camera turned off.
Should I turn it back on?
Yeah.
It's not like, that they're interconnected. If you are into both, you can easily make the connections between the two.
Yeah.
But, because, for example, Judaism is a lot about submission to God. So the dynamic of
That's right.
dominance
Okay.
and submission is part of BDSM.
And submission is really hard for people to understand, like surrendering.
Yeah, it's letting go, letting something
let go.
else, someone else, a higher power, another person, whatever it is,
And they have
kind
16 seconds.
of be in control. Just kind of letting go of, and letting, just letting go.
Letting
so
be.
Right. So for some people, are attracted to submission because they don't like having to make decisions about stuff. They rather, that do whatever somebody else tells them, in a sense of somebody they trust. So because obviously everything that you do as a dominant, you're not gonna just make your submissive do whatever the hell you want. You have to
Sure.
do things that they will enjoy, or they're okay with, and
Yes.
So
See,
yeah.
babe, I just want to be submissive. Like, I tell you what I
Right.
like, and then you make decisions based on that.
Yeah.
Do you see?
So some people are attracted.
I like
to
this
it
menu.
because
Pick something.
Exactly, and some people enjoy that side of being one that makes decisions, and and that you are in control of things. You can be meticulous about and some people enjoy that. Myself, I like making plans on things. And planning things out. As I'm like, people call me paranoid because I have plans for contingency A, contingency B. But and some people are attracted to it because in their personal life, maybe they are the ones that are always controlling everything and taking care of every little. So they want to just kind of let go. And,
Or the flip side,
Right,
maybe
yeah,
they're
so-
always in control and they like to
Exactly,
be the
yeah,
submissive.
That's why a
Right,
lot of like
exactly.
CEO types and those guys that have to run everything.
Right.
I find like, all right, you just do whatever you want.
Right.
End up tying, and then you find a squirrel up their ass and that kind of thing. I'm so
wouldn't-
sorry. That has
I don't know about
nothing to
that.
do with
I thought it was a gerbil.
gerbil.
Gerbil,
There's been
paper
many
towel
things
roll.
found up some people's ass.
But anyway, how this connects to Judaism, I guess. I mean, just because there's articles that you can read online that a lot of dominatrixes in New York see a lot of Jewish clients, Orthodox Jewish clients, and I don't honestly, like I said, I think most people who are outsiders to Judaism would be surprised, like somebody that is so strict and would go and do that. But I think it kind of makes sense because, like I said, Judaism is about submitting yourself, letting go, letting something else be in control, and not trying to to always be the one controlling everything. So and having self-discipline and all these things that kind of play into that power dynamic, the discipline dynamic, stuff like
Yeah.
that. So for me, it's not surprising when I heard that, because I mean it's
It's like a release, a relax.
it's like you're
I
submissive.
don't have to do that anymore.
Right.
All right, I'm going to take some time off for me.
Go, yeah.
That's how I
So-
kind of feel about like just how we were describing God as an energy is like I feel like I just surrendered. Like I'm living today, I'm happy today, I like where I'm stepping, I decide my next step, but I am not in control. I'm in control of my body and that's it. So I can definitely see that. I mean,
Right. Yeah. And
keep talking because I have things that maybe I shouldn't be saying in my head.
okay. But yeah, I mean,
she's looking at me.
like I said, and the reason this topic came up is because, like I said, part of the Jewish rituals and traditions are wrapping tefillin, which are prayers that are in a parchment inside a little leather box, and we use a leather strap.
Don't tell us,
to
show
tie
us.
that. Okay, well. For demonstrative purposes, I will do this, so I'm not going to say the blessings and stuff like that. 'cause-
Yes.
Sure.
We want to be
We want you to be
respectful,
respectful,
yes.
in every way, but yes.
Should I stand up? No, I'm not going to be in shot if I stand up. No. Okay, so, and and there's different traditions of how to do this. Some do it standing up, some do it sitting down. Some say a blessing when they do the arm and when they do the head one. Some only when they do the arm one. Or if you talk or get distracted in between doing the arm and the head, then you have to say a blessing again for the head one. Like there's different customs.
Okay.
So, and that's a thing within Judaism. There's
Yeah.
the Talmud, which is
Can I show this to the camera?
Oh, yeah.
here? See if we can get a little closer to it.
so they're inside that box right now, and yeah. Yep, there you go.
That's the leather strap.
Yeah, all the straps there.
So this is the arm one. So the reason we do this is because there's a part of within Torah that says you should bind these words upon your arms, teach them to your children, and wear them as a sign upon your arms and as a sign between your eyes, basically, or on your head. Like I said, the original language, some of the Totafot don't know exactly what it means because it's a word that fell into disuse, so we don't actually know like what it 100% means, but it's usually translated as like a frontlet or something you wear on your head, like between your eyes. So So every morning I do this every weekday. Typically the custom is not to do it during Shabbat because observing the holiday of Shabbat is a sign itself of devotion.
Shabbat is Sabbath.
Yes.
Oh,
The holy day, the day of rest. So you would put that on your arm right here. So actually I didn't take it out of the box because I got distracted. So yeah, this container is to protect it, and this is the actual. So it's a little, it's a leather box. It's made out of leather. So yeah, you would put this on your arm here, facing your heart. So that, let me roll up my sleeve a little bit. So yeah, you would put that there, and then you would say the blessing, and then you would wrap it first around your forearm, your bicep, and then your forearm 7 times. Obviously, you wouldn't talk while you're doing this. You want to remain concentrated on what you're doing and get yourself in that zone. So I do this every morning. Part of my meditation, prayer, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
So you wrap it there, and then you wrap it around the finger, signifying like an engagement ring, a wedding ring. God being the other half of that relationship. So between the Jewish people, usually God is seen as the groom, and Israel, Jewish people, as the bride. So if you read the Song of Songs, the Song of Songs, yeah, it's all very sexual, and it's basically a metaphor between the love of God and the Jewish people.
Okay.
So yeah, so you wrap it.
Yes, we have kids.
Put that one there. And like I said, so this is where the bondage thing came from, because obviously if you know anything a little bit about bondage, you've seen people tied up and stuff like that.
In this shiny black leather.
Some, but I think the most common is rope. Yeah.
Or red leather. See some red leather.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, I was just saying ours aren't.
Body harnesses and stuff like that. Oh, yours aren't? Okay.
They're not leather.
Yeah, and then this one would go on the head. And this is the one that goes, between your. But I'm wearing headphones. So
Yeah.
But yeah, so
you kind of wear it right here.
Right. This one would go like right here on top of your head where your hairline is. You don't want it to be too far forward. And yeah, so that's basically put this on. Put on the prayer, the talit, which is kind of like a prayer shawl.
No.
Yeah, here, let me do this. Let me put it on under the headphones so it doesn't fall.
Okay.
Or you can probably keep the
Yeah, if you want to sleep them off for
whatever
a minute,
they're called off.
Okay.
These are headphones.
I know, I forgot the word. Okay.
Cans.
So now it feels weird that I'm not hearing you guys as loud, but yeah. So, and yes, this is my talit, which is. And this one I probably will need to stand up.
Yeah.
If you step right next to the chair, you should be fine.
This one is big.
That's what they all say.
Yep.
It's huge.
Huge. Believe me.
I have huge hands.
You never seen one as huge. Believe me. All right. Trust me. Everybody says so. So this is talit. I'm sure you've seen Jewish people pray with this. Put it on. After you do that, you say a blessing as well, which is what's written on here. That's the blessing for putting on the talit. Since I'm doing it for demonstrative purposes, I'm not going to say it.
Okay.
So you put it on. And this is something that goes back, thousands of years. We've been wearing this. Tefillin are probably a little bit stronger, at least from what archaeological evidence, it goes back quite a while, but not as long as talit probably. But yeah, it was just a way of taking something and making it into, a way of observance. So you put this on, and that's what you wear when you wrap yourself in the fringes. This is really the important part about the talit is these tassels. It's called tzitzit.
Tzitzit?
Yeah, because there's a commandment in the Torah that when you should put these on the corners or the four corners of a garment. Mm-hmm. So really, it can go on any garment that has four corners. Okay. So, but this is what we wear traditionally for that. Yeah. And it used to be worn as an everyday, like you would wear it all day long. Mm-hmm. Eventually, through persecution or trying to assimilate things like that, it became something that we wear only when we do our prayers or meditation. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't mind this coming back as something that we wear as an everyday thing. Yeah. So and then from here, I just go into my prayers, meditations, whatever it may be. So,
okay, very nice. And it's a really nice looking garment too.
It is.
Like, what is it? What is it made out of?
This is made out of wool. That's the Yeah. So
it kind of feels like it kind of feels like manta. Like, anyone who's Mexican knows what that is. I don't know how to describe it right now. But, okay, well, I think this is so awesome that you came to share this with us. And definitely if there's interest from, our 6 viewers of, listening to more about Judaism, definitely you're coming back. I think that time-wise, this would be a good time to kind of stop. So kind of some closing thoughts. I wanted to say, people, educate yourselves. Stop spreading hate in the name of love, in the name of God, and God is love. Let's see what our other counterparts are doing and try to learn more, match on the things that we have in common other than our opposing points of views, and really be the change that you want to see in the world. It's not going to come from you violenting others. It's going to come. Others? I don't know if whatever. Being violent toward others.
Violenting others.
I can't
don't
talk.
Violent others.
Yes. Be the change that you want to see in the world.
Yes.
That's where it starts and it ripples. And Gabe, you want to close this out? Is there any song in Hebrew or something that you can sing?
Don't put me in the spot like that.
Oh, come on.
Maybe in the future I can...
We're going to do a Freestyle Friday?
Something.
Freestyle Friday.
Maybe in the future I can bring my oud and we can...
Oh, yeah.
What's a oud?
I don't know. Sounds cool.
Okay. Hey, you got to be careful with him. We were just talking about bonding.
That's true.
The oud is basically the grandfather of the guitar. It's oud is Arabic for wood. So it's kind of like a guitar. And it's used in Muslim and Middle Eastern, Arab, and Jewish traditions because, like I said, we have so much in common. Muslims and Jews have such similar beliefs and cultures. Arabs and Israelis and Palestinians have so much more in common than all the hateful people are trying to make us believe that we are completely different and can't coexist. So...
I think we all, from any point in the world, we all have more in common than we do that is opposing. Yeah.
And you find that just by talking to people and keeping an open mind and just asking questions and just learning about others, what their experiences were like. There was something that stood out to me that I had heard a while back. Like, even though... you'll see in the workplace a lot of older people will look at the young guns coming in like, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. They're just starting.
Yeah.
It's like, but their 25 years are very different than any of the years that you've had. Yeah. You have no idea what their experiences are like. You can learn from anybody and everybody, and you should.
Absolutely.
I say let's love each other, and to me, love is seeing people in the absence of judgment. So let's not start by creating judgment is what I say. So anyway, thank you all, 6 or 7 of you.
Yeah. Thank you, Gabe, for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Made us bread, made us breakfast.
Yeah, heck yeah. I'm going to go eat some more of that shakshuka. And the challah bread, which is amazing, and I made him make extra. I'll post some pictures along with
we'll put some food
the
porn on
post
the
of the
screen.
podcast. Yeah, food porn. But thank you so much, and hey, happy Pride Month, and let's love in all colors and
Love, love, love.
bondages. No, okay. Sometimes.
Oh, I guess Instagram.
Oh yeah, what's your Instagram? I'm just gonna
sneak in
tag
your
you on it,
plug.
I guess.
No, well, because I started, so who wants to be the first follower?
I'll be your first. Yeah, okay, first and second right here.
Because, I made a page and I want to spread exactly that. Encourage dialogue between people,
Yes.
between
Yes.
any two opposite sides, between anybody that thinks we don't have anything in common.
Bend down, Gabe. No one wants to see your crotch. Your crotch.
How do you know that? But,
He is single.
so I started a page to kind of try to promote some of that. Obviously, like I said, I have 0 posts and 0 followers because I literally did it like last night. But it's called, it's on Instagram. It's Shevatim, which it's SHEVATIM.
Okay.
I'm sure you can link it.
Yep.
We will.
And,
We
it
definitely
means-
We'll put it in
will.
there for you.
Right. It means tribes in Hebrew. So not only, because of
Nice.
the 12 tribes of Israel and the Jewish tribe, but because I think tribalism is something that is ingrained within human nature. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. We use it for bad, but, we all need a sense of belonging to some group, to some tribe.
Yes.
And the thing is that we can look at other tribes and see how much we have in common with them. So that's kind of my reasoning behind choosing that name.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, open up some dialogue. Shiva, how do you say it again?
Shivatim?
Shevatim.
Shevatim. Okay. And last time I said my IG totally wrong. I butchered it, and I
And
can't
your
remember
Facebook.
what it is now. And my Facebook?
But I think he fixed it.
so-
he fixed it in post.
Yeah, we'll put the links in, the proper ones down below. Of course, Red and Real Podcast on Instagram and Facebook, Red and Real on Twister and Snapchat.
Twister. Yeah, that'll stay.
It's Twister now.
Twister now.
Some little twisters.
We're not getting any sponsorship from them now.
Maybe the board game will sponsor us. Or the burrito shop in Albuquerque. Twisters is the shit.
Oh, nice.
That's Breaking Bad. That's where. Never mind. Well, that'll be something else.
Yeah, that'll be another episode.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to click subscribe, hit the notification bell. We're going to try and post at least one podcast every single week. More coming.
All right.
Bye.